Hi, in this video I'll talk about how to become a lot faster with your computer as a software developer. We're going to talk about automation, about using shortcuts, and just reducing your cognitive load in general, so using a computer becomes less straining. Becoming faster with your computer takes some initial investment, but quickly becomes second nature. The first thing I want to talk about is to remove friction for common tasks. You may have websites you visit hourly or daily. Just put them in a bookmark bar, not stuffed away in some bookmark library 3 levels deep. You may have an app that you start on boot always. Just automate this. Use your OS for this. Some people even create their own web page with bookmarks and other info they need and then set their browser to open that page for every new tab. Another idea is to create different desktops or user accounts per activity, so you can focus on what matters. Humans associate environments with activities, so if you do this, starting an activity becomes easier. So really be critical to yourself. Which apps do I need in which profile? Another way to approach this is to increase the friction for distractions. There's software out there that can block social media during work hours or certain times, or make you enter a password, at which point you won't bother anymore. Next, I want to talk about shortcuts. Learn them all. Okay, maybe not all, but learn a lot. Start with the ones you use most often. And here I want to call out the philosophy of Vim. Now, I'm not a Vim user, but I do like its philosophy. They're optimizing for speed, not number of keystrokes. They're also saying that most programming time is spent editing, not writing new code. Editing being formatting, deleting, replacing, searching, moving text around. Optimizing for this gives you a huge performance win, and it also increases your comfort on the keyboard. So stick to your keyboard, avoid your mouse when you can. It'll hurt for a day, but then it will improve your life. Another tip is to use a window manager. This will open up new ways of using your screen real estate, especially if you have a very large screen. There are great tiling window managers out there like Rectangle for macOS, i3 for Linux, and Aquasnap for Windows. Also take a look at Hot Corners for macOS, and I'm sure this exists for other systems as well. Also make sure to use a launcher. If you're not familiar with it, it enables quick access to many system features by only using the keyboard, like a tiny terminal behind one keystroke, like Command Space for Mac. The most well-known is Alfred for macOS, but if you prefer free and open source software, there's also Albert. And now that you don't need your dock anymore, please hide it. And you are, of course, already using a password manager for your security, right? Set it to autofill credentials, even make it press enter automatically if it can. The next thing I want to talk about is developing an automation mindset. Think about the daily usage patterns you have, the repetitive actions you do, and get the computer to do these things for you. Scripting is the most obvious way of using automation. There's Bash, AppleScript, or AutoHotkey if you're using Windows. It's especially great for tasks that are composed of multiple consecutive steps or other predictable decisions that work in an if statement. For example, I want to run system updates daily. The problem is the many package managers that exist nowadays. It's a task that requires manual labor with a lot of waiting in between, something especially well suited for a script. I wrote it in Bash, since it's a problem I have both on my Linux machines and my MacBook, and I can just detect the platform. Next, learn about all the features your editor or IDE has to offer. For example, line actions, multi-cursor editing, folding, using snippets. These are just a few basic ones. There's a lot more. All those saved seconds add up. It will increase your comfort. A lot of software allows you to search for features. For example, in macOS you have the help menu where there's a search bar. In Visual Studio Code you have the command palette. This will enable you to move quicker, navigate quicker to the software itself. You can also install plugins or extensions to save time. Take a look around at what's available. And the last big idea is to use the terminal when you can. It's faster for many tasks and it's a valuable skill to put on your resume. Git is a great example of this. Many graphical apps will hide what commands are being run in the background on the click of a button. And if you use a terminal, it will make you actually understand what's going on. The messages will be helpful and you have to learn what you're typing anyway. The only thing I do use is a visual diff tool because that's just more helpful. Software on the terminal is usually more composable due to the Unix philosophy. This is this idea of having tiny pieces of software that do only one thing and do it really well, and then they all talk with each other over a standardized interface, which is plain text. And in the spirit of reducing friction, you might want to switch to another terminal app, like iTerm2 for Mac. To keep my Bash settings consistent across different machines and platforms, I've actually committed them to a Git repository and just published them on GitHub. This is a very old pattern among Linux administrators that just works great. To summarize, remove all the friction you can, learn as much shortcuts as you can, automate what you can, learn the terminal, learn your IDE. And that's it. I hope this was helpful. If you have any comments or have any thoughts about future videos, let me know in the comments and subscribe. Thanks.